Hello, everyone. You are listening to the MSPoweruser Podcast. This is the podcast for the Microsoft enthusiast and power user. We discuss the latest news from MSPoweruser.com and other great sources of Microsoft news around the world. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith, and I'm joined as usual by Andy Bennett. Andy, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Got a little bit of a headache, but it's not bad.
How was your Independence Day?
Pretty good. Went to our church and helped out with a wiffle ball tournament, and then just sat down and enjoyed the fireworks. It was a very nice time and also a very loud time, as we were right across the street from where they were being fired at our stadium for sports stuff.
Oh, cool.
And by our, I mean just the town.
Yeah. We have, in our town here, well, I work shift work, and so I am quite often at work.
Yeah.
The day of, or the night of Independence Day. Well, this week I worked during the day, but then I got home and all around us, hours before it even got dark out, we had people all over the neighborhood lighting off fireworks. This is right in town.
Oh wow!
In North Dakota, the rules are pretty rolled back, and I think it was a combination of those relaxed rules and maybe because of a little bit better economy. From 5 in the afternoon until like 10:30 when it finally got dark, people were just lighting them off like nuts. Then at 10:30 when it finally got dark, there was, well, to be honest, I couldn't tell what was the official fireworks show and what was the neighbors.
Wow.
I'm not even kidding. Like, it was fantastic. It was the best overall group of fireworks we've had in years, and wow. I was really, really impressed. And I love fireworks.
Yeah.
But at some point, I was like, I gotta go to sleep. I gotta be up at 4 in the morning here. So,
gotta get
but it was worth it. It was fine. Yeah, it was worth it. It was enjoyable. So,
yeah.
But that's what Independence Day is all about, right?
Yeah.
Gunpowder,
staying up late, not being able to sleep, dogs going crazy.
Yeah.
Fun stuff like that.
Luckily, we don't have any dogs at this place here. So, but yeah, it can be really.
I tried to call my uncle to tell him Happy 4th, and all I heard in the background was just barking for solid 4 minutes.
Oh man. I suppose, yeah. All right, well, listeners, lucky you if you use MSPoweruser.com for your Microsoft news. Very soon, and we mentioned it last episode, very soon there will be Universal Windows Platform app coming out. It will be both on the desktop, obviously, or, big Windows, as I like to call it, and for mobile. Can't wait for that to be out. We have not heard a specific date, but it will be soon. Can't wait.
And speaking of specific dates, this leads into our first topic here. July 29th is coming up fast, and that means that if you haven't upgraded to Windows 10, now is the best time to do so. The Windows 10 anniversary update is right around the corner, and it contains a lot of improvements. If you saw Windows 10 on another device and weren't totally satisfied with it, this might change your mind, and you have 30 days to roll back to Windows 7 or 8 or whatever you're using, so it's a good idea to upgrade. Once you've got that license for 10, it's there for life. You can roll back to 7 and then upgrade to 10 again and again over the years, so go for it.
Yes, and that is nice that they have clarified that, or at least that's the general understanding right now. Obviously, we've been doing that for a while. People have been going back and forth. This past year, it's been quite easy, obviously. They allow you to roll back. But I think to roll forward again, if by design, you've already reserved that copy, think of it that way. So rolling back and then going forward again should not be an issue. But since no one has had to pay for Windows 10 this year, there haven't been any issues with not having to pay for it when you roll back again. So I believe that what they've designed, they want it to work for people that way. But I guess we don't necessarily know how well that rolling back and rolling forward again is going to work after the 29th.
It should be just that the Windows key is tied to your motherboard. Although, if I remember correctly, some parts of the anniversary update are changing it to be a bit more of the rest of your hardware as well.
Yeah.
But so still, that should still apply. If you installed Windows 10 on that device, while still having that same motherboard, you can install it again. Should be fine.
And that's by design. That's how it's supposed to work. It's actually kind of weighted for some of the other components of the PC, as I understand. So if you swap out, 70% of the PC, well, then maybe there'll be an issue. But I've heard that, and of course, like you said, Andy, to the motherboard, and I, Microsoft's going to do right by people. There will be some people with bad experiences, and maybe those would be self-inflicted. But overall, I think it's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I also think that the majority of people who want to use Windows 10 are on Windows 10 anyways at this point, so shouldn't be too many issues with people rolling forward.
Correct. I think we're just going to have, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have another wave of people updating or upgrading, and then after that, probably very few, rolling forward from Windows 7, I would imagine.
Yeah, after that, I would expect it to be entirely new PC sales.
Mm-hmm. And phones. And speaking of rolling back and forward, that's what I've been doing with my Lumia 1520 for, a year or more. When the Insider Preview was available, Windows 10 Mobile Insider Preview was available for the 1520, I tried it out, obviously. I moved forward. It wasn't my daily driver at that time, and I've been using it on the Insider on the Fast Ring for a while, just kind of fiddling around with it. And I've rolled back about a month and a half ago. I went back to 8.1 just to try it out again. It's kind of a nostalgic type of, like I missed it, and the device itself is rather nice. And then I went forward again with the official update that AT&T had pushed out. And I actually don't remember if we talked about this on the show last week.
We did.
But okay, all right. Anyway, that's what I'm using. I put my SIM back in this thing, and I'm using it for a bit. I don't go too far from the house with it because there is a battery issue. I don't believe that it is the battery capacity. It is the power management. So it could be showing a very full battery, and then I think maybe just getting bumped. It might be a connection inside that tweaks it out and reboots the device, and obviously that's no good for a daily driver. But I like the thing. I'm using it for a while, and one thing that this offers, because it's the larger display, you're going to have, when you turn it landscape mode, you're going to have more of a PC-like experience versus some of the smaller displayed devices like the 950 or the 830 and so on and so forth.
Wasn't the 1520 the one that was marketed in yellow?
It is. I have the yellow one.
That's a selling point for me, admittedly. I have always liked a yellow and black color combo. Not exactly bumblebee stripes, but 1520 design just looked so good back in the day. I didn't have the money for it, but I wanted to get one.
It's a pretty spiffy device. I wish I could just figure out the battery issue, but other than that, it really is very nice. So, but yeah, it's on the official Windows 10 Mobile from AT&T. Yeah, we talked about that. So
yeah. Also, speaking about Windows 10 Mobile, it has been confirmed that even after July 29th, you'll still be able to upgrade your Windows 8.1 phone to Windows 10 Mobile. And really, that's not much of a surprise to me, at least, but it's nice that they're clarifying things. I think
there will. There may be naysayers that will say, well, see, they went back on their word. They said no free upgrades after the 29th. Well, come on, really? Like when has a phone? I really can't think of any time that a mobile operating system that you needed to pay for a mobile operating system upgrade. Now, sometimes they just don't get pushed out, and that's actually quite often. But that just isn't the business model. And basically, Donna Sarkar, head of Insiders, or I should say the face of Insiders now, has basically said on Twitter that this is the way it's going to be. Mobile hasn't changed. The way they're rolling out, obviously, not charging for these upgrades. And you'll still be able to do it after the 29th.
Yeah, PC and mobile are still very different platforms, regardless of how close Microsoft tries to make them. The business models for things are totally different.
Mm-hmm. So on my 1520, I missed having the double tap to wake, or I should say on my other phones, I missed that. On the 1520, I have that. Well, double tap to wake, DTTW, as some people, when we speak about it too often, we use acronyms. Or that's not an acronym, that's an abbreviation. But I guess it's not really an abbreviation either. It's
an acronym.
I guess it is. It's just we don't say DTW. We would say. But be that as it may, the Lumia 950 and Lumia 950 XL were highly criticized for not having double tap to wake. Really unfortunate. Really ticked a lot of people off, and I was kind of one of them, more on the principle of it. I was very used to having that with the 1520. Boy, come to think of it, I think the 830 has it too. I don't recall, actually. I haven't really used that as a daily driver for a while. Well, Microsoft, it was leaked a little bit ago. Microsoft has officially announced that the Lumia 950 and 950 XL are getting the double tap to wake feature. Now, it is not just an OS update. It needs to have firmware, new firmware. And so that firmware is getting rolled out in waves to these devices. So what I did with my daily driver 950 is I roll it back. I was running the latest Insider preview. I actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I had rolled back to production ring or general release. I guess we can talk about how to do that later in the show as well. And I was hoping that doing this would get me this update. Well, it hasn't, at least not yet. I rolled back officially. There was an update to that. I did a reboot. Let's see what else there is here. I'll check one more time for an update. But basically, we're waiting. We're waiting for AT&T to push it officially. And it's been announced that it is happening, but I do not know of anyone who has received the DTW, the DTTW.
And, as you check for updates, I'd just like to mention that I really, really hope Microsoft stops killing off all the old Lumia apps and features and starts bringing more of them back. If they're bringing double tap to wake to the 950 line, then certainly there's got to be more old Lumia stuff coming soon, right?
Well, I was looking at that. The Blink app, for example, which was a pretty good app, basically took several shots, with just, a few milliseconds in between them. Great for capturing small children running around. Quite literally, that's probably the best and maybe only way to do it sometimes. Really good for that. And the version on 8.1, the Lumia, I think it was called Lumia Blink or maybe Microsoft Blink, still works on the newer devices. But you could tell it has not been updated. The iconography is different. Even some of the UI is different. And, they obviously didn't update it. Now, that feature itself, though, is in Windows 10 Mobile. And that is, I believe it might actually be more device specific. I could be wrong on that. But obviously the higher end devices would be able to handle that more easily. You need a decent amount of RAM for that. It needs to optimize the processor to be able to take that many decent photographs, stills quickly. If you were to do that on a lower device like the Lumia 650, and I wish I had one to try it out, but the 650 has the Snapdragon 235 or something like that. With I believe it's 1 gig of RAM. Boy, I should have really looked at this ahead of time. And not say that could not work. If Microsoft is able to do that, get their Blink, is what it used to be called, to work and take those quick images in rapid succession on that processor, that would be tremendous. but I could certainly understand why they would prevent that app from working on lower devices, lower spec devices, and only use it on the newer stuff. But Andy, back to your point, I do agree. We want to bring back some of those older features. Is there anything in particular that you were thinking of, or just kind of the general concept?
Just the general idea, because if you take a look at a lot of Windows 10 mobile news over the past couple of months, you'll see things like FM radio getting discontinued, which was something that I really do like having in a device. Then there was also, let's see, I do know there was multiple Lumia specific apps that got killed off. There was one that let you take 3D pictures, for example, and you could then go and take a look around at a panorama. But also, on the subject of both old features and photos as well, the Microsoft Photos app for both the Windows 10 desktop and mobile is getting a slideshow feature, which was in the old Windows Photo Viewer for Windows Vista 7 and 8.x. Apparently this has been added with a new update to Windows Insiders on the Fast Ring, and it brings back the slideshow feature that we all know and love. And however, the thing is, it's quite limited at this point in time, and it does not let you change the speed of the delay between each slide. It doesn't even let you pause or play the slideshow at a certain point. In addition to this, a new animation has been added for opening photos, which looks pretty sweet. Apart from the new slideshow feature, there doesn't seem to be any other new features in the latest update. However, those are still pretty nice.
All right, so I had mentioned, and I don't know why I didn't just talk about it at the time, I suppose, that I rolled back my device to Windows Phone 8.1. I said that about the Lumia 1520, but I also said that rolling back to production ring with the Lumia 950. And to do that, you would use the WDRT, not the DTTW, but WDRT is the Windows Device Recovery Tool, and we usually use that name instead of the acronym, of course. But Windows Device Recovery Tool, it works for phone, obviously. It also works, I should pull it up here now. It works for HoloLens. You can plug in your HoloLens. You launch this thing and see what else it shows. You can plug in your HoloLens clicker, apparently, which I did not know was a thing until I saw this in the recovery tool. Of course, you can plug in any of your Lumia Windows phones into that, and it recognizes them. They should all be there. And then also most other OEMs are in there. HTC, LG, Blue, Alcatel, Acer, Unistrong. I don't even know who that is. Yes, and Vio and Neo. So not that you need to know these, but the point is that they continue to add things in. They're adding to where basically an OS image is available on this device, or on the server, of course, through this Windows Device Recovery Tool. So not only can insiders jump around as they need to or want to, and it really does make it very simple. But if you have a friend of yours or let's just say a parent or grandparent or something who's using a Windows device, mobile device, and their phone gets goofed up for one way or another, whatever the issue is, you can basically flash it back. And it doesn't use the spinning gears update. It's a different style, like a recycle type or like a sync type icon on there. Not that this is incredibly valuable or important to many people, but having this available is incredibly powerful. It's very nice that Microsoft is doing this for us. So using the Windows Device Recovery Tool, that's what I use to roll back from Fast Ring on my 950 to production 10 to, I don't know what firmware or what OS version it was, 10.286 or something. And then from there, I just checked for another update. It rolled it forward. So at this point, you can't choose which one you can go to. So plugging the 1520 in, you cannot roll back to 8.1 anymore because that system image is, or I guess the ISO, if you think of it that way, is at the You can't roll back further than that unless I don't know, unless you know a trick I don't.
All right.
Yeah, so I like that this is there, and it is officially sanctioned by Microsoft. It's not something that you have to hack your way through.
Although, honestly, if I've seen some people who have hacked their way through and they've ended up with better results at times, but that's a story for another day when I actually remember the full thing.
That would be interesting to hear, actually. That's cool.
All right. So, moving on to Xbox news, which is my forte. Microsoft has changed some of their wording regarding the Xbox Play Anywhere program, which got announced last E3. Xbox Play Anywhere is cross-buy. You purchase a game digitally on the Windows 10 store or the Xbox One store, and you've got it on both devices. This is somewhat similar to Quantum Break, but that required you to redeem a code to get it on Windows. Now, the wording's been changed a bit in that previously it was that every new title published by Microsoft Studios will support Xbox Play Anywhere. However, they've changed that. It's now every single game that we've showed on stage at E3 this year. And I don't think this is too big a change. I really think it's just they're trying to make sure of their options. Because Microsoft Studios publishes a lot of games, and they aren't all developed by Microsoft. For example, there's plenty of indie titles where that developer might not have the resources to develop for the Xbox One. I know they published Mark of the Ninja, which is indie game. I'm not sure of the team size. I do believe it also had an Xbox Live Arcade release for the 360, but just, they work with some indie teams. There's always a chance that whatever they do isn't always going to have a release on both platforms, and it's just keeping their options open, I think.
So I remember I don't know if it was last E3 or no, this year's E3, where they made a great big deal about, hey, this play everywhere thing is going to, I didn't really, it makes sense, but it wasn't really compelling to me directly, specifically. But everyone flipped out about it, said it was awesome. Yay, this is amazing. Down with Sony, or like whatever, right?
It wasn't as much down with Sony, really. From what I saw, it was a case of, oh boy, I don't have to buy an Xbox One because this guarantees a PC release. Which, that's totally reasonable. I don't see any reason to drop extra money on hardware that I'd be getting for just one or two games. And so that's totally understandable. However, this might also be a bit of an issue for Microsoft, who wants to sell more Xbox Ones.
Well, I think that there's still, the hardcore gamer market, I think, is still very strong, or I should say it's a very important component just for the Xbox One. But I can't imagine that it truly is a enormous percentage of the market share, is it? Maybe
well,
I'm
the hardcore
I'm
market, with the kind that hardcore, I guess, would say would be really more of the core market, where this core market is the people who they're going to be checking on news for games. They're going to know that Xbox Play Anywhere exists, and they might give it a try. And they are a significant part of the market. I don't see many people buying Xboxes for media centers, although there might be a good deal of people. I just have not seen anyone buy it for the media capabilities. So yeah, gigantic chunk of the market, and also what's driving the Xbox One along at this point.
Well, eventually I will be one of those that will get it, and it will be used in my household primarily for media consumption. And I'm sure we would game to some extent, but just really not, for one, I don't really have the time. So if I can just have a machine that delivers me my Netflix more easily, well, that's really all I need. That being said, I only watch a couple hours a week, basically. But for the rest of my family.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we at here? I'm sorry. Okay. Yesterday, maybe the day before, Twitter exploded with this Red Dead Redemption, which I've heard of. Okay, I actually heard about this before I was in the Microsoft community. I guess it was still, I don't know when it came out, but it wasn't recently. Red Dead Redemption has been around for a bit. And people flipped out about it. Oh, yay, Red Dead Redemption something. And it still doesn't really apply to me. I have to pick and choose where I'm going to devote my time, and this isn't it. But it certainly sparked my interest. Andy, what is going on with this game?
Well, Red Dead Redemption released all the way back in 2010 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It's developed by Rockstar, who also developed Grand Theft Auto. And it's got a similar structure. It's this gigantic open game, except despite, the main difference is the setting. As opposed to being set in a modern city, it's the Wild West, which is a setting that games don't really explore much, let alone a gigantic open world style one. I'm pretty sure I could count all of the good cowboy games I know of on my fingers, maybe even just on one hand. So Red Dead Redemption, which is not only just a rare kind of game with the setting, it's an incredibly good game. Let's see, looking at review scores, 10 out of 10, 9.75 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, and more, so on and so on. Incredible amount of awards. It's got a 95 out of 100 at Metacritic, which puts it up there in the top bar games. There's a lot of people who love it. So being able to play it on the Xbox One and not having to dig out your old 360 and hook that back up is going to be great for people. And additionally, this is something that I just found out tonight, the downloadable content packs for multiplayer, which add extra missions, extra costumes, stuff like that, those just became free, and they were originally $10 a piece if memory serves. So not only are you going to be able to play a game you already own on your Xbox One, you're going to be able to get $30 worth of content that you may or may not have already had for free. It's a lot to be excited about.
Well, that would be exciting. I do understand that. I suppose that when it does come for when I get around to get an Xbox One, I suppose I will just pick the very best games, and I don't really care how new they are because that doesn't matter to me. And I suppose this does fall into the category, one of those that I think I might try. I liked Grand Theft Auto back in probably 2009. I played it, or I don't know, and I don't know. This could appeal to me, so. I guess actually I played that on Sony on the PlayStation at the time.
If you want to sell me on a video game, you just say cowboys, big open world, you can ride horses, and that'll generally sell me on a game. Because again, like I said, there aren't many cowboy games, and Wild West is great.
Cool. Nice. So I tried to give you a segue there, Andy. It's all right. So what Microsoft has, what they're doing, and they're with Xbox, and they're competing. Their big competition is Sony with the PlayStation.
Right. So I recently tried out a service called PlayStation Now. My PlayStation devices I've got an old PlayStation Portable, which still gets plenty of use, and I also have the Vita TV or PlayStation TV. And now the PS TV, as I'll call it. No, actually, no, that acronym sounds wrong. Either way.
Like a PTSD?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Either way, though, despite the acronym, it's a TV version of the Vita handheld, which, because of low sales, you can get that super cheap. I paid $60 for one that had $74 worth of bonus content with it. 2 games, a controller, memory card, all very good deal. And so it's a better deal now that I have this you have a Fire TV, it's about the same size as that, or any of these small TV boxes, it's the same size as that. It works in a similar fashion, except the focus is games. Well, Sony has a service called PlayStation Now, which is normally $20 a month. By using that service, you're able to play over almost 450 games, with new ones being added each week instantly. It's Netflix for games. And this is an area where I would love to see Microsoft really compete with them. It's one where, there were rumors about Xbox TV boxes that are around $100 price point that were supposed to show up at E3, didn't show up. Hopefully they don't share the same fate as the Surface Mini, because while I originally thought the idea was just redundant, if they were to introduce a service like this, it would be great. My experience with PlayStation Now, and this was just the Vita TV, it's also available on the PS3 and PS4, but those are significantly more expensive. The Vita TV experience was not too great. The app itself is horrible. I posted on Twitter a couple of times about it, where it would just constantly not load images after time. It would jump across the list of games occasionally, and it was a subpar experience. And this is something that Microsoft could use to their advantage. However, again, I don't know the quality of the PS3 or PS4 versions, just that one. But actual experience when it got to games, absolutely flawless. And it's actually uses less data than Netflix too, amazingly. But having a sort of Xbox Now service is something that Microsoft, a company who had this huge focus on cloud first for so long, kind of astounding they don't have anything like that. And this is also a way that would allow certain Xbox games to maybe be played on Windows PCs. You know, there wouldn't be any extra work required to port the game from whatever Xbox platform it would be on to PC, as it would just be streaming. And it's something that could turn out very, very, very nice if done properly. As the Xbox line has some very good exclusive games and very good games that are not exclusive, there's a huge library they could put on there, and they could get a lot of subscribers.
Well, Netflix for gaming, that makes sense to me. I understand that. Now, obviously, the original Netflix, they were very wise when they named it, by the way, because when they first had the service, it wasn't via the net. I mean, you would I guess you'd select your DVDs, and they would ship them to you. But it was a while before people really got into streaming, and now obviously that's all it is. You know, movies over the web, over the net. Well, with a game, it's not like it's a 2 or 3 gigabyte movie or something, or I guess 8 gigabyte movie usually. This would be like 20, 30 or more gigabytes for a game, right? I mean, they're not still.
It depends on the game, but the majority
disc.
of them, yeah, they're getting to be pretty huge now. I know Halo 5 at least is like 83 gigs. And for me, someone on a plan with a cap, that essentially means I buy a physical copy or I don't buy it at all. And well, yeah, PlayStation Now is streaming. Yeah, if you've got a cap, you got to be a little careful with it. But from my experience, I used it for like solid 4 hours. It only used about 10 gigs of data, which is pretty good.
That's not too bad. Yeah. Well, what if we had this rumored Xbox Mini TV device, and they included a piece, a mini TV device, that's basically saying it's just for consumption, as I understand it. I mean, as we speculate about this, who knows what it'd be? $100, maybe $150 or something, not necessarily for gaming. But what if it was for light gaming, whatever we want to call that, casual gaming, and Netflix or HBO Now, for example, or HBO Go? I don't know what's the HBO one. I don't pay for that.
I think it's just HBO Now, and yeah, the original details that leaked out about this did mention that playing Windows Store games was always a possibility.
Because that would make more sense, I think. People are not going to. They're more likely to get into casual gaming if they don't spend $300, $400, $500 when you figure in all the accessories for a gaming console, and that's I'm at that point basically. But if it was $100 souped up Roku, and there was an Xbox Roku, well, obviously wouldn't name it that, but something like that, then I could get behind that. And if it had casual gaming that I just downloaded maybe the 10 gigabyte game.
Well, for casual, you're obviously not going to have 10 gigs. It's more like 100 megabytes, which, again, that also makes it easier to manage.
Okay, but even I don't mean like solitaire or something for a casual game. I'm trying to think of like a Even like a fitness game, or I mean, I suppose even like a Guitar Hero or something could be relatively small, right? I mean, see,
Well, the
I'm
thing
really
about Guitar
showing my
Hero is that
ignorance.
you'd have all those songs, so I mean, it would depend on how they launched that.
Hmm.
Like if they had just like 3 or 4 songs included, and then you'd download more over time, or if they were streamed. Again, it all depends on how they'd have that developed and set up.
So in pretty much any game, whatever type of game it is, there's different levels. So you only need so much data to get started, and then as you progress further, you can reach a point where it could prompt you, "Hey, you're almost done with level 1. Do you want to start downloading level 2? Hey, 50 megabytes or whatever, something like that, which wouldn't be such a strain on people, and it wouldn't cause them to or require them to download the whole game." But if they get into it, oh yeah, I do like this game, I think I'm probably going to finish it, then they can go move further on. And of course, you could change that in settings and everything. It really isn't something I've ever thought of before, but you got
So
me thinking on
that's
this.
actually a
And
pretty interesting thing. I think that could be. However, some of that is kind of like demos, really, where you're able to download first level for free, see if you want to buy it or whatnot. So demos do handle that, but that's an interesting idea.
just it's not something I think about very much. So, well, my focus is more Windows Insider, and to be fair, really only in mobile. I'm running just production on my PC, but on my phones, I've run the latest builds whenever I can, and we had a new build drop today. Today's Thursday. So latest fast ring insider build 14383, and we have I guess, do you have that story up? Do you want to cover
Yep,
some of
yep.
this, or we
I
can
got,
go
I
every
got,
other
I got that.
go down the list
There's
here?
the 2 great sections that we all have grown to know and love: known issues for PC and known issues for mobile.
Mm-hmm. The known issues, but then also some of the nice things in there as well.
That's true. That's true. The things that we love even more.
Yeah. So I guess I can hit on those real quick. We have the things that are the good things, obviously.
Do you want the good cop or bad cop first?
I'll cover good cop here to begin with. We'll bat this around back and forth here. Most of it is just a fix-it list for this round, but that doesn't mean that there aren't things that you're going to recognize, you're going to notice. So, fixing the use of the remote desktop, that has gotten better, especially when connected through Bluetooth. I don't particularly use that, but so I would not be the best one to elaborate on that. Extensions in the store, that's for Microsoft's Edge browser, obviously. Andy, do you use extensions? I use them very minimally.
I cannot live without browser extensions, because even if there's more to it than just ad block, honestly. Because
So
taking a look at some of the extensions I have for Firefox, for example, which some of these are becoming available in Edge now. Let's see. I use the Reddit enhancement suite, although admittedly that's just to filter out politics. It's very nice to have.
that could be a lifesaver.
Yeah, and that's one that I recall Microsoft explicitly showing off Edge extensions with when they first demoed them. But then there's also, say, Stylish, which I use for CSS edits on sites, which it's something I don't use too much, but it's just a case of, wow, that's really nifty.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more to extensions than just ad block. And it's something that I use, quite a few of them.
So what are you waiting to come to Edge? What do you need Edge to support?
Let's see.
Or to support Edge, I should say.
Well, I don't know if there's any equivalent of something like Grease Monkey or Stylish there yet, which Grease Monkey is essentially an add-on with add-ons. It's a script manager that lets you do all sorts of things. Like, for example, there's a Steam enhancement one, which will add all sorts of nifty features to the web version of Steam. Like, for example, you'll get to see your total transaction history for things like the community market and stuff like that. That should be there already, as well as additional sorting options for various things. And it's just, again, a case of nifty to have. Not exactly something that would decide if I used a browser or not, but it would greatly increase my experience using that browser at times.
Well, I would say that I would be greatly more encouraged to use extensions if there was a pop-up saying, hey, take this link to go directly to the store to download available extensions. And that is basically what this update is enabling on the Fast Ring, showing that type of thing so that you can get more of these extensions directly from the store instead of a plug-in or an add-on or add-in, some people call them. It is like a mini app. And it's funny, Windows 10 Mobile has those type of things, say for the glance screen or different phone, like VPN stuff, things for phone dialer, whatever, those odd little additional settings, which you don't necessarily seek out, but they install from the App Store and they update through the App Store instead of being part of the OS. Anyway, it's similar, but not really the same thing, of course. We also have, Win Shift C is Cortana's new listening mode. And basically, Siri is coming to Mac, or on the it's so easy to say the PC, but like the desktop Mac, Siri is coming there, and of course, Cortana is an incredible competitor to that. Basically, before it's even out, before Siri on the desktop comes out, but people preferred the Win Shift C, and that is now the new shortcut basically for using Cortana.
As long as Win plus S, which is what I use, is still available, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
That, and if Cortana starts to work better.
Mm-hmm. I like that it is C instead of S because search is more generic, and I think from a branding standpoint, the C is better. Plus, pretty much, Control S is probably the very first or the only. If someone knows one short key, the S is for save, okay, right? Or maybe an X or a C or a B.
This is Windows plus S, though, and...
Correct, yeah. I'm just saying that I think just for less confusion for people who really don't do this very much.
The fun thing, though, is that it's also right next to Windows plus A, which is the Action Center, so I find that just really handy myself. I can just have my hand on the edge of the keyboard, hold the Windows key, press A to check Action Center, press S to open up Cortana. It's nifty to me, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there were some other things as far as just getting unexpected pauses and issues with Groove. And so it's interesting how Groove obviously is its own app, but it is still obviously very, very directly related or tied into the OS. And so many of the new Groove music updates are not enabled, not available in the older Insider builds. You need to be on the Fast Ring to get the newest Groove update. And so there's some fixes on Groove, especially the unexpected pausing, and that apparently has been fixed.
Actually, I think there was also an issue where if you hovered over settings, you would see music controls, which aren't exactly tied to Groove. As far as I know, it was just the generic Windows Play controls, but those were available for the Settings app for some reason if you enjoy listening to the sound of updates. But, alas, that's gone. The musical's over.
Yeah. Well, for phone, there used to be an issue where you would get a notification, your screen would light up. Obviously, that makes sense. It should do that. But even if it's in your pocket, it was still doing this. And so that, obviously the proximity sensor should be preventing that. But since it wasn't, you're getting a notification. Say you had, say you had a missed call. I think if that popped up on your display, on your notification center, I would say a voicemail. Let me think about that. If you were out of range, you couldn't get a... See, I'm digging too deeply on this. Anyway, you were getting pop-ups on your Action Center. If you tap that inadvertently in your pocket, it could do things that obviously you didn't want it to do. Also, this coming on and working in the background could have be one of the causes of some battery life issues, but they have addressed that. That is not a problem anymore right now.
Well, that's good. I'd expect that to also maybe cause devices to get a little too hot at times, depending on how long it was on.
Mm-hmm. So I guess those are some fixes, but we basically also covered some bugs in that at that point. Do you want to hit these other?
I'll cover PC bugs. You cover
issues?
mobile bugs.
Yeah, there's known issues.
Well, an issue that has just recently popped up is one that started on the 1st of July, saying that your Windows evaluation copy expires on the 15th of July. And the post says, don't worry, this is a superfluous dialog and your OS won't expire. The dialog will go away soon. I'm not sure if that's referring to this build taking it away, but it's listed under known issues, so it might just stick around until the next build.
That's kind of odd. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
seems
slightly
something
confusing wording, in my opinion.
I don't develop or anything, but it just makes me feel like if they could have spent less time writing it, or I should say they probably spent more time writing it than it could have taken to fix that. I don't know what is going on with that, but then again,
it's just a thing that because every single Insider Preview build has a time bomb attached to it. That time bomb is just, after that date, let's see, there's certain points where the operating system will just stop booting. So that's a huge issue, of course, for some. I would rather not have my PC not start in the morning.
Mm-hmm. I guess I misunderstood it. I thought it was just basically a pop-up.
Yeah, it's a pop-up that comes up, says the build's about to expire, and to upgrade to the next one. And the confusing wording, in my opinion, is with the post where it says the dialogue will also go away soon. Not totally sure if that means they're removing time bombs totally from builds, if this current build fixes it, or if the next build will fix it. I'm just not sure.
All right. Well, what's next?
All right. The second one. This is a very short list, as we're getting next to. Oh boy, I'm not allowed to say it, but I'll say it anyways. It's RTM.
RTM. Nope, we don't RTM. The RTM that isn't RTM.
Yeah. But anyways, a recent fix went into place for Hyper-V firmware, and it will affect the ability to boot Windows Server 2016 virtual machines with Secure Boot enabled. A fix for Technical Preview 5, which is the latest technical preview for Windows Server. That fix has been developed. However, due to release schedules, the Insider Preview build changes will be released before the Tech Preview 5 fix is released. During that time, if you try to boot a new Tech Preview 5 virtual machine with Secure Boot enabled, it will fail. The workaround is to disable Secure Boot during this period of time. And now we move on to known issues for mobile, which is Vernon's forte.
Well, one thing I noticed a few days ago was that on my phones, both running Production Ring or Release Preview, I should know, General Release and Fast Ring, I had recorded a phone call with someone, 2 different phone calls with people, and I noticed that the record option was there. I love that feature. I think it's great. And I know that you had to enable it for it to pop up in there. It's in settings, and you have to pick which app you want to record with. Well, there's basically only one app. You just have to enable it. Well, a few days ago, it was gone. There was a phone call I wanted to record. It's a family business, having whatever. Not a family business, but it wasn't work related. But it wasn't just hanging out chatting with a buddy of mine. It was something, trying to be vague here. I needed to record it. I wanted to record the conversation. And I wasn't able to. It was not there. I'm like, what is going on? Where did this go? And I was going to call the guy right back. And I texted him. I said, hey, something came up. Give me a few minutes. And I dug it in both my phones. I went through all the settings. I'm looking for it. I rebooted them. I'm like, what? Where did this go? So I thought they pulled it. I thought they had legal issues where you could not record a phone call or whatever, right? I didn't know what it was.
At the rate Lumia stuff is vanishing, I'd expect it to be something that's not even legal. It's just a case of, well, there goes that.
Yeah. Well, it turns out in here, in the build 14.3.83, they're recognizing that voice recorder, the app voice recorder, does not show up consistently as an option for call recording. So that's telling me that they still want it to be there, and they're just having trouble getting it there. There's no indication that they are pulling it. That is a relief to me, but that's obviously a concern for some people. Next up, PDFs. I like that you can open PDFs in Edge. Not that this is really a groundbreaking feature or anything, but it's good. Well, you cannot scroll, pan, zoom. You can't really interact with a PDF very well in Edge. If you do, it's just going to reload it. Really? Well, this is it's a bug, and they're stating as such. We understand.
There's times where you look at patch notes and you think, wait, how'd that issue happen? This is one of those issues for me.
So to be fair, we kind of ragged on them pretty badly about these issues, but it's a short list. It's a really short list, just like you said.
They're cleaning up for release, so it makes sense.
It's really, really nice. So the last item that Microsoft listed here really isn't anything new. You actually talked about it last episode, maybe the one before, basically as far as the backup format, how Windows 10 Mobile is changing the backup size, backup file size for a Windows 10 mobile device. And so they're just reminding you to go through the steps and basically, you might lose it. Here's how you might be able to keep it, blah, blah, blah. Not a big deal. Well, I guess it is for some people, but you can always seek that out and find the best way to do it if that concerns you.
Yeah.
Well, it's you know what? We actually filled in this episode pretty well, and so I think we're just about done. I think this will work.
We do have some time still. We've got we've got 6 or so minutes left until we hit an hour, so I think we can take maybe 3 or 4 to talk about something that isn't just news.
All right. Well, Andy, we've been asked by some of our listeners what we use as a daily driver, and I've mentioned a little bit what I use. I think Andy may have mentioned a little bit, at least his phone one time. But Andy, what do you use as a daily driver PC? What are you using right now to record this show?
Well, right now I'm using a device that I wish I wasn't using, basically. It's an incredibly weak, incredibly old Compaq HP PC, which I'm planning to upgrade sometime in the near future, but every single time I think I'm going to buy a new part, another bill just comes along, or I need to loan someone money. I just can't wait till the loans get paid off. That's going to be nice.
Yeah.
How about yours?
For PC, I have the same tower I've been using for 8 years, I think. It's just an HP. I don't even know. I think face the other way. I can't even look at the front of it, but it's got an A8 processor in there, 8 gigs of RAM. I did update the graphics card, but that was not because I needed better graphics. That was actually because my DVI port on the back, DVI, not HDMI, my DVI port had somehow cracked and separated from the motherboard.
Oh, wow.
And so really my only solution, aside from getting a new PC or getting a new motherboard, which would be more expensive than a new PC, or, not more, it would not be worth it to do that for this old PC, was to get a cheap graphics card or updated new graphics card. And it basically allowed me, it created a separate line of, what am I saying here? Display monitor, display plugins. And so now now it works fine.
Neat.
But the thing was, but I have no need to do anything else with this thing. I am fine. I don't game. It's literally just my podcasting machine. I obviously have a work machine that I use for work, running Windows 7 Enterprise. And I don't spend that much time on the computer, really. I just podcast, and it runs fine to handle Audacity. and that's the most graphically intense or process intense thing that I use, unless I'm forced to use Chrome or something.
Oh boy, Chrome.
So, do you have any tablets in your house?
I actually do. I've got two, yes, amazingly two, 2013 Kindle Fire tablets, which I use one of them quite a bit, despite the fact that it's an older device and performance isn't the best. It's a cheap 2013 tablet. You get what you pay for it, although I got it back when it was relatively new. And it's great. It's it's not an HDX, it's the regular old Kindle Fire line, and it's one of the last ones where it had the Kindle Fire user interface, and I love it. The hardware and the operating system are both designed around having everything right in reach of your thumbs, which is something they dropped with the newer ones. And it's a shame because, like, just holding it in your hands feels great, and I have not found any other tablet that felt that good to hold.
Nice. Cool. I have, let's see, I did have a Surface. That was nice, but I didn't really need to. I think we talked about that, didn't? As far as did I talk about that?
I'm not sure.
Trading that in once. I'm sorry. That was a guest. I was a guest on a podcast where we talked about this stuff. That's why this is deja vu. So I had a Surface original RT, and I end up, when that had reached the end of its functional life, I upgraded to an Asus. Let me grab it here. Asus Vivo. Oops. Asus VivoTab Note 8 or 8. Yeah, Note 8. And I was very deliberate in my purchase of this because I go to 3-4 conferences or trainings a year for work, and I want to take good notes. I do that at work. I normally have a notepad with me with a pen, and I write things down. Well, when I'm at a conference, I do not want to bring my laptop. I do not want to be clickety-clacking on the keys during a keynote session or something like that. And it really can be distracting. People, we're just not to the point yet in society where that is acceptable. And I think it'll be quite a while, if ever, when that is truly acceptable. In some rare instances. But I got this tablet, 8-inch tablet, running Windows 10, obviously. I think it was 8.1 when I got it. Upgraded to 10. And I love this thing. I have full Office 365 on this. All my work email, of course, is right through there. I can do a web call, a web conference if I need to, even share notes and all that type of thing. If I need to, this has the power of a PC. Not a lot of power. 2 gigabytes of RAM or something, but it is 64 gigs of onboard storage. That's plenty for what I use. Plus, it has expandable. I think I have a 64 gig card in there. That's basically just for putting movies on when I'm traveling, and it works very well. The stylus, I made a point that I got it with a stylus that has a silo, basically a spot for it to be stored. And it is not the super nice stylus of the Surface, but it works just fine. It really is great for taking notes. That's almost exclusively what I do with it. And I love this thing. I've had it for a year and a half now. I actually prefer this. I've actually gone on business trips and not taken my work laptop with me.
Oh wow!
But between this tablet and I can't access my files through this. It's not necessarily company approved for VPN or for basically on the VPN. But everything else, email works just fine. And OneDrive, if I really need to, I know I'm going to need to access a file, I can just drop it into my own OneDrive. And our intellectual property, I mean, depending on what it is, but typically that's at my discretion whether that can be on a public server or it needs to be on the VPN. So I have a little bit of flexibility there. But between this and Continuum, I'm set. I'm really, I'm really happy with this thing.
That's good to hear.
So you're the gamer. So the next in the list we have here is console.
Now, admittedly, I have done the majority of gaming on PC. Even on this crappy little rig, I have managed to run an insane amount of things for the hardware I've been stuck with. But for consoles, I have, as I mentioned before, I have a PlayStation Vita TV or PlayStation TV, whichever you prefer to call it. Which I have, actually, let's see, 2 physical games for, 2 digital games for, and PlayStation Now service. I also have an original Xbox with like 30 games for it and growing. I can't stop buying for it. It's this horrible impulse buy where it's like, oh boy, that's cheap. And aside from that, I've also got a Wii, which is not used whatsoever, hasn't been for the past year. Not just because the set of AV ports on our TV are busted, but just there's zero interest in it. And then there's also the PSP, which I also mentioned earlier, I think. Which, let's see, I've got very few things for it physically, but plenty digitally. Very good system, also fairly old system, but I'm satisfied with pretty much everything I've got in that department.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as console, like I said, I don't game, and so what I think of as a console, we had a Roku, right? Obviously, that's not gaming, but all we have is Netflix, no cable, satellite, whatever. It really doesn't, for the hour of TV we watch a day, that the Roku always worked fine. Well, finally, we had to get it'd be kind of nice to play a Blu-ray every once in a while, rent it from Redbox or whatever, And so we got this crappy little Blu-ray player, and I cannot wait to get an Xbox One. I just cannot truly justify it, okay? But this thing's such a piece of junk, but all we need, like I said, hour a day of Netflix, and we can get by with this. And so if I was a wise man, and I'm pretending to be, I will continue to hold off, not get a console, and I will be fine with my dinky little Netflix player. And really, the kids should be riding a bike or coloring crayons or reading a book or playing Legos instead of, watching SpongeBob.
Oh boy, but let's see. You mentioned a Roku in this. I've got a Fire TV as well, which I am insanely satisfied with. It is probably the best out of all of these little TV boxes made for just general entertainment. Great device, and it runs Android, so you've got also support for all sorts of side-loaded applications. You can put emulators on there and hook up controllers through USB. It's great, and very good device. And then
Nice.
Up next on our list is phones. You can go first with that.
All right. Well, I'm kind of a phone geek, and I'm not going to go back to all my whole lineage of phones, but I think I'm on, as far as Windows Phone or Windows mobile devices, I think I'm at, my daughter made me count one day. I think I still have 18. I think I'm at 18. But as far as ones that are working that I pick up in a day, I think I'm probably just going to go with 4 or 5, like 4 Windows devices. Obviously a Lumia 950. Very happy with that. I've been running a fast ring on that. That's my daily driver. Has been until I switched to the 1520. And then I have another Lumia 950 that I use for production, and basically that will be my wife's phone when she really needs it. She's in no rush, and she likes her Lumia 920. I do have a Lumia 830. I really love the design of that phone. I actually, it's funny, I kind of call it modding it out, but obviously I didn't flash the ROM or anything like that. I just put fast ring on there. But I've changed the display and the not aspect ratio, but like changed the font size, font size and the display settings and everything. So it really is a weird looking device as far as the way it's set up, and you could see, like, for example, in the messaging, you will some people will recognize when I say what I mean by this, some won't, and that's understandable. If you turn the phone sideways in messaging, depending on which device it is, you will still have a list on the side of all your other conversations. If you're in a thread with someone, you can still have a list on the side of the different conversations. Well, with this phone, by goofing it up so crazily, you even have that in a vertical aspect. If you're vertical, you could still have the jump list to other conversations along the left side while in a conversation in the thread on the right. And that's just an example of what changes because it is Windows, not just Windows Phone anymore, and how it is so much like a PC where you can change things like that. That's not that big a deal. I don't really play around with it that much anymore, but my daughter's probably going to eventually ask me for that phone. Also have the Lumia 1520. Love that device. It's just a little bit too big, and I don't... it's just too big to really use as a true daily driver, but I'm going back to it for a while. And I would say that is the very best couch device, because sitting on the couch, you can use two hands, it's relaxing or whatever. Instead of having a big tablet you have to like prop up. It's just the best place for me there, or just watching a movie on a plane or something like that. I also have an iPhone 6. What is it, a 6S? Oh, iPhone 6 for work. And that's fine, whatever. I mean, I really don't even try to do email on there. I really can't stand it. Messaging and phone, or, text message and phone is pretty much the only things I do with that thing. And, what I do love about it is I have OneDrive installed on there, the app OneDrive. And so the pictures I take on there, I can immediately view on my Windows phone, my Windows mobile device. Obviously, I can view it on the web. If I had a Windows 10 PC, I could view it through, I should say, Windows 8. You could view it right through the OneDrive app, or with Windows 10, if you have it synced up right in the folders, you can have that right in your File Explorer. I love that part about it. That's about it I like about it. And I've got a Moto G. I think it's only a second gen, really just to play around with, but I got it all loaded up. I got Cortana on there, have obviously Outlook, Skype, all those things. It's pretty Microsoft up, but I don't really do much with it. Mostly just a test device. I was hoping you would have gone first, because now I feel bad asking you what you use.
Don't worry. I've got for phones, I have a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. It's a name that you can't really say that 5 times fast, but it's my first smartphone. I've been using flip phones for years, as I've mentioned in a previous episode, I'm sure. And, instantly going from that to what is probably the best Android phone on the market's amazing. I've had to take out anything related to Samsung, oddly enough, because their software isn't very good. I've been using more Microsoft stuff than Samsung, amazingly, like the Aero launcher. It's a great home screen. Yeah. It's very handy. You can easily just swipe over to, say, Documents and quickly check out our podcast notes in OneNote. I can quickly switch over to widgets, recent calls, and text messages. It's really nice. And I also use just standard Google keyboard because, for whatever reason, Samsung felt the need to copy the iPhone keyboard, despite the fact that the iPhone keyboard is the worst keyboard ever invented, and Correct. I will gladly fight anyone who disagrees. If there's a worse keyboard out there than the iOS one, I'll be amazed or disgusted.
I'm sure there's one exists, but it is absolutely ridiculous that this would be such a popular keyboard. Not necessarily by choice, but people choose this phone, obviously. And it's like you would want this keyboard to be better.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why they would just say, you know what? This is the worst keyboard of all time. Let's clone it.
Yeah. Wow.
with most of Samsung's default apps, they try to clone iPhone stuff, maybe for familiarity, but they gutted features. Like, for example, I don't think the Samsung one has swipe typing. Let me check real quick on that. I don't think it does, but I used the Google one almost exclusively from day one. Let's try this.
I was thinking that the latest TouchWiz version of TouchWiz has a
swipe to type.
Yeah.
My mistake. I thought it didn't for whatever reason, but it's not very good. The autocorrect is significantly worse than the Google one, and it also just looks ugly.
Wow. Well, we'll have to talk about keyboards in another episode, because that is, as far as word flow, traditional word flow on 8.1 and then also on 10. They used to call it shape writing. You can also get the word flow keyboard on iOS, which is the features are tremendous. Why are we talking about it now? We'll get another time. But yeah. Wow. Well, we went a little bit over our time here, what we were shooting for. But this was great. I think it was nice to know what you're using, get a better idea of that. I knew some of that, but I know the listeners had been asking somewhere, so it's good to share that.
All right. Be sure to subscribe to the show using your favorite podcast app so that you can have the latest episode available to you as soon as it's published. We publish each episode on Friday, and if you'd like to stay informed of our latest show release or just see the latest Microsoft news, be sure to follow MSPoweruser on Twitter at MSPoweruser. You can also find me on Twitter at FusionFan45, and you can find Vernon at VernonEL.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to another episode of the MS Power User Podcast, everyone. Have a great week.